Every few weeks here on 207, Chris Brown from Bull Moose has joined us for years to talk about new music and video releases. He's come in with a variety of guests who have been with him. This month, we've got another special guest, our own Pat Callaghan, New Center Maine alumnus, who's here because he truly, correct me if we're wrong, Chris, knows as much about popular music from the last 50, 60 years as anyone.
It was always hard being interviewed by Pat because he always knew more than I did.
And honestly, I don't work for Bull Moose, but they do hold the mortgage on my house, so I'm trying to work that off.
Perfect. Hey, well, let's start with you then. So, Pat, Elvis Presley, Aloha from Hawaii via satellite.
Yes, 50 years ago, this past January, big worldwide event, first of its kind, satellite broadcast live to most of the world, tape delayed to other countries such as the United States. Set the scene, Elvis had something of a career renaissance in 1968 after making a lot of movies, some of which were not that good. And so he'd had his TV special in 68 and then the great records from Memphis in 69, opens in Vegas and starts doing really exciting live shows. You know, now what's next? Colonel Parker didn't want him touring overseas for various reasons, one of them being, Colonel Parker being Elvis's manager, who was not an American citizen and was afraid to leave the country, maybe he wouldn't get back in. So to serve the rest of the world who wanted Elvis, they had fans everywhere, let's do this one-of-a-kind broadcast. Elvis got himself back in good shape. A lot of excitement in the show, well produced, well received. So the album now is being reissued and in a big deluxe package with the show itself, the rehearsal the day before, because you got to do a rehearsal, and extra songs that were recorded for the tape delay broadcast in the US. And it was the first quadraphonic record to become a #1 record. It was Elvis's first #1 record since 1964. First #1 album.
Which is hard to believe.
Well, because again, he was putting out all those movie soundtracks.
He didn't do a lot of recording. Yeah,
right. And in the midst of the Beatles and Dylan and the Stones, it got harder to break through. However, this was big deal, sold 5 million copies. And I don't think the quadraphonic mix is on this, but you correct me if I'm wrong, which seems like a missed opportunity.
They should have put it on the Blu-ray for sure.
Yeah, but anyway, it should be great because I've heard good reviews about the sound and everything.
Let's move on to another new release, and again, we're going retro here. David Bowie, this is Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, the motion picture soundtrack, available on LP, CD, Blu-ray, the works.
Right, so this is a concert film, also from 1973, and it's the last night of the Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars tour. So yeah, you can get it on record or CD, but you know, again, you probably want the Blu-ray because it's a new scan. But unlike the Elvis piece, that was a TV special with a live audience. This is a concert that was filmed. So even though they've cleaned up the picture, it's still dark and grainy because it's not, they didn't, you know, they don't have cameras on the stage.
Right.
They've added additional content just like the Elvis piece, but so Jeff Beck guested on a few songs, but he didn't want them released. So when the movie finally came out, it wasn't in the movie, wasn't in the album. But now that, probably because he's dead, they've added it. He's not, yeah. So they've added, and you know, it's cool. It's good. It's good stuff. I mean, it's Jeff Beck. He's not going to be bad. It's great.
Okay.
It's fun.
All right, another one on the list. Neil Young, Chrome Dreams.
About 15 years ago, Neil Young released an album called Chrome Dreams 2. There was no Chrome Dreams 1, except the record he had recorded in the mid-1970s, like from 74 to 76, planning to put it out in 77, called Chrome Dreams. And he changed his mind because he's Neil Young and he does what he feels like doing. Yeah. But this is a record that was supposed to come out in 77, was widely bootlegged, and some of the songs came out on other albums in different forms. But this is the first time his vision of this album project is coming out. Chrome Dreams 1 is now, and it's got a great cover on it drawn by Ronnie Wood of the Rolling Stones that he did back in the 70s for him. And it's, again, Neil was so prolific in the 70s. You think back what he was doing, what an important singer, songwriter, rock star he was, because he did all kinds of genres by himself, with Crazy Horse, with Crosby, Stills, and Nash. So it's really, it's a time capsule, and probably, from what I hear, should be a great record.
Let's end with our novelty. And it's an album called Chilling, Thrilling Sounds of the Haunted House, an LP that originally came out in '79.
Right, so this is confusing because Disneyland Records released 2 different albums with the same title. Yeah. So there's the one that like you know, that I had when I was a kid, which is a little different. This is the one my little sister had. But like if you went trick-or-treating in the 80s, you know, without your parents, at night, you would hear this, people would have it like cranked in their house. Spooky sounds, right. But so
Eerie.
yeah.
Scary sound.
Yeah. But what's kind of cool, what's cool about it is these are all from the Disney sound effects library. So, you know, soundtrack collectors and film buffs are very observant people. So if you look online, you can figure out like what Mickey Mouse cartoon these things came from. And so
I think they should be selling this at weed shops and just, you know.
I mean, it's a great, you know, it's a fun time and a great memory for some people, sure.
Gotta let that be the final word. Thank you both. Patrick, great to have you here. Appreciate it so much.
My pleasure.
Stick around, back with more of 207 in just a moment.